Hey everybody, here we are, and we'll talk about Achilles tendinitis one more time. And tonight will be about why you may have it and what to do about it if you have an arch that is kind of firm, it doesn't move much, or an arch is kind of high and really doesn't move much. So anyway, we'll start with the taping. I did this on the last video, and what the taping does is that it allows you to kind of figure out if it's a higher arch that is contributing to the problem or a much more mobile arch that is contributing to the problem. So here we go, some rock tape. Kinesio tape's fine. I think TheraBand tape is out there too, and KT tape obviously as well. Anyway, a couple strips, maybe 2 or 3 at the most. And I cut it maybe, just shy of what the bottom of your foot is, because this stuff stretches. You want it to be from the ball of your foot to the back of your heel. So let me see if I can bring this thing more forward, give you guys an idea what's going on here. I think we can see my foot. Anyway, what you want to do is kind of help create the arch, and the best way to kind of create that, point your foot down and then out, not up. If you can see what happens when my foot comes up, it's hard to tell, but when my foot actually comes up, I flatten the arch. But when I point it down and out, I create that arch. Really nice. And even though this is for a foot that might have a high arch, it's still worthwhile to consider whether or not a high arch is contributing to the pain or not. So put it right, maybe just slightly on the inside of the big ball of your foot there, by your big toe. And I stretch it out maybe 75%. Doesn't have to be, it's not rocket science. You can stretch it out pretty good here. You're just doing a little test here, really, if anything else. And I kind of wrap it around the outside of the back of my heel there. All right. There we go. There's one strip. And since this stuff is kind of thin, most of the time I put on 2. And this is just the test, right? So if you put this stuff on the way we're talking here, and your Achilles tendinitis feels a little bit worse, then you know that, or you have a you're pretty much aware that a higher arch is probably the problem. So then we go into the treatment stuff, right? So I just want to make sure you guys know how to get this kind of down. This is kind of a real quick and dirty kind of a way that I do in the clinic to kind of, if the foot's kind of one way or the other, I'm not quite sure if it's contributing as much one way or the other. I'll do this, and if it gets worse, then chances are the arch can be a little bit too high already, or maybe not as mobile, and the tape firms it up so that if the pain is at the Achilles tendon and you're firming up the arch and it's more painful, then chances are we need to go in a different direction for treatment. So do this on your own. Just kind of give you guys a heads up on how to do it, just kind of like what I just did right there. And this tape will pop off pretty darn quick. If you don't put your sock on, pretty quick after, just make sure it doesn't roll up there when you put it on. And walk around. And if it feels more painful, real quick, take it off, walk around again. If it feels less painful without the tape, then you know that your arch is, the firmness of the arch, or a high arch, is maybe contributing to the Achilles tendinitis. So anyway, I'm going to take that off for now. Just give you guys that. And then other things that are worthwhile considering. Hey, Graham and Jerry Novak. Hope I pronounced that right. And Greg, thanks for hopping on, guys. Got any questions, give me a holler. But anyway, other things to kind of help get rid of your Achilles tendonitis a little bit quicker. A couple things. Most of the time, if you have a high arch or arch that is not very mobile, strengthening tends not to be an issue. The 26 bones in your foot tend to be doing a pretty solid job at that point, all on their own, and strengthening isn't as much of an issue with these guys, if this happens to be you. So the other things that are pretty important that I've noticed that are helpful with these guys is that I'll start with like a 1/4 inch heel lift in the shoe, on top of putting a little bit of less stress on the Achilles tendon and calf alone. So here we go with the tape again, right? So these strips will be a little bit longer, and same kind of thing. You know, you stretch it out maybe about 75%. That's what I do, just to help out with how things feel. The more you stretch it out, after a while, it just tends not to be as effective because you stretched it all out, but it makes it feel better. Go for it. 2 or 3 strips. Anyway, so same kind of thing. I tack down the first inch or 2. I don't stretch that out. And where are we here? There we are, if you can see me. Tack down the first couple inches, maybe a little bit below your heel there. And then stretch it out. I'll plantar flex my foot. I'll kind of point my toe a little bit. That's about maybe 75%-ish. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'll tend to put 1 strip slightly on the inside. Next strip slightly on the outside, but both are covering the Achilles tendon. All right, there we go. Doesn't have to be a perfect science to it. You just want to support the Achilles tendon and calf. All right, and then, you know, if you're still not sure, go ahead and throw down on 1 more strip right down the middle and see if it helps. Generally, that will. All right. So you have the heel lift of about a 1/4 inch. Walk around in that. Do not run in that, right? You do not want to run around with a heel lift in your shoe. But walk around in it for the day. You're just putting everything on slack. You know, for all intents and purposes, go ahead and walk around with the tape on throughout the whole day. Not just for the run. Just put a little bit of, give it some support, give it some help, you know? And what I talked about a couple days ago, the rocker bottom shoes that are kind of a rave on one side of things, you know, one way or the other. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but generally the rocker bottom shoes, you know, there's Hoka, there's a bunch of other ones. New Balance has one too, slightly rocker-ish. They're a little stab at the whole game. So we have 3 rockers in general with the way our foot works and is designed. Let's see if we can do this right, just to kind of give you guys what's going on in your foot and ankle. Bring it down here a little bit more so you can see. Yeah, so anyway, so when we walk, we have a heel that we rock over, and then our foot is firmly on the ground. And then after that, we have an ankle rocker when your foot's firmly on the ground so you can progress over your foot. Then after that, you have a forefoot rocker on the ball of your foot that allows you to progress farther forward, and the cycle continues. So if you have a shoe that is kind of a rocker on the bottom, it's kind of a dimmer switch, you know, it kind of turns things on and off a little bit, not as abruptly, so that your Achilles tendon doesn't feel it. Not that you have to spend time in those shoes all the time, but it's great to consider utilizing them to get back out and run and not stop your training while you want to transition into the other shoes that you're in if you'd like. But it's a great way to consider it, man. So we have the shoes, we have the taping that I just showed you, we have the heel lift that you use throughout the day, not when you're running. That's about 1/4 inch. And of course, a calf stretch. Now, when you stretch your calves, you do not want to feel it in your Achilles tendon. All right, you want to feel it in your calf. If you're stretching out your calf and you feel it in your Achilles tendon, you got to modify that and maybe roll out your calf instead, and not stretch out your calf. Because if you stretch out your calf, you feel it in your Achilles tendon, you're just irritating your Achilles tendon. May not be the best thing for you. So just to kind of review real quick, this is about Achilles tendonitis and what a high arched or an arch that isn't very mobile, but the progression I go for when I treat my patients. Run with a shoe and consider a rocker bottom shoe to kind of help you progress. So what that does is that when your foot is firmly planted on the ground in a regular shoe, your foot's on the ground, it's flat, or it's completely on the ground, heel and forefoot, then your ankle has to come forward. And then when your ankle has to come forward, well, then you have to stretch out your Achilles tendon and your calf. So when you have this rocker bottom shoe, you end up progressing forward, but not needing to move as much at your ankle. And so that's really helpful. And then heel lift throughout the daytime. Like I was saying, do not do this when you're running. Do not put a 1/4 inch heel lift in your shoe while you're running. Never do that. Like I said, stretch your calf. Make sure you don't feel it in the Achilles tendon. And the tape. Yeah, that's about it for the quick and dirty stuff to make you feel better if you have Achilles tendonitis. And a contributing cause is an arch that is either high and or doesn't move much, isn't very mobile. That's it for tonight. If you guys got any questions, give me a holler. I can talk about this for a long time. But anyway, have a great night, and we'll talk more about some lower extremity injuries tomorrow and what to do and how to self-assess and self-treat. It's worth it, particularly this COVID stuff we're dealing with. Anyway, take care, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.